terrace, causing the plane to crash into a field in Pennsylvania. The people on board contacted their friends and families, letting them know the plane had been hijacked. The plane crashed in Somerset, Pennsylvania. 40 crew members and passengers died, and nearly 3,000 people died on one tragic day.
People believe President Bush called the attack on 9/11. They accused the U.S. government for placing explosives in the building themselves. It is believed they planted the explosives on the specific floors that the planes crashed into. Conspiracists think this way because they don't think a plane can cause that much fire. People believe President George W. Bush, the CIA, and major oil companies orchestrated the attack. They planned the attack so oil companies could raise prices and establish a world government.
Kendrick Fraser, science writer and longtime editor of Skeptical Inquirer magazine, stated on August of 2014 reasons why people think the 9/11 conspiracy theory is true. Some wanted a reason to feel safe and secure, while others believe it's not possible for 4 terrorists to hijack 4 commercial airplanes.
Now that we talked about the 9/11 conspiracy theory, next we'll talk about the Titanic conspiracy theory.
The sinking of the Titanic was a tragic event. Researchers and writers from the National Geographic stated on April 9, 2019, the RMS Titanic was built on May 31, 1911 in Belfast, Ireland. It left its port in Southampton, England on April 10, 1912. Then it set sail towards New York City and served as a luxury streamliner carrying 2,000 passengers. 5 days after setting sail, it sank within the time span of 2 hours after hitting an iceberg on the starboard side. 1,503 people died, with almost all of the passengers wearing life jackets.
Many people believe in the recent J.P. Morgan conspiracy theory. According to Edward Morgan, researcher and writer of the website Prepare for Change on November 24, 2017, John Pierpont Morgan was a wealthy banker and financier from America in the late 19th century. He owned the Titanic. He also owned the White Star Line, a shipping company. People believe J.P. Morgan sunk the Titanic so he could create the Federal Reserve, a central banking system in the United States. J.P. Morgan canceled last minute before the Titanic set sail. A close friend of his, Milton Hershey, also canceled last minute.
Being that J.P. Morgan owned the Titanic, you would think that he'd wanted the safest conditions before setting sail. But there are only white flares on the ship and no red flares. Red flares signal for help, while white flares signal that everything is fine. They're also short on lifeboats by over half of what was needed for the passengers it held. The Titanic was one of the first ships that could electromagnetically seal its decks, meaning it could seal people below deck.
Eric Trickey, a researcher and writer who mainly focuses on science and American history, wrote for the Washington Post on August 4, 2018, that there were 3 millionaires on board that opposed the Federal Reserves. These men were John Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus. They all died the night it sank. They would be worth more than $11 billion today. Referring back to Edward Morgan, he states that J.P. Morgan used a book called The Wreck of the Titan as a basis for the plan of the sinking. The book was written 14 years before the Titanic sank, and it was written by Morgan Robertson.
Along with the names being very similar, there are other oddities that come along with this conspiracy theory. The plot of the book consists of the Titan, luxury cruise liner, hitting an iceberg and sinking. The Titan didn't have enough lifeboats on board for its 3,000 passengers. Same with the Titanic. The Titan was 800 feet long, while the Titanic was 802 feet long. Both ships were 400 miles off the coast of Newfoundland when they sank. Both ships were hit on the starboard side by an iceberg. The only difference is the Titan capsized before it sank.
There are many opinions on whether or not this conspiracy is true. Referring back to Eric Trickey, QAnon is a Republican association that supports many types of conspiracies and is the first to formally rally and create a group. They are the largest public group to support the J.P. Morgan conspiracy. They believe J.P. Morgan's main motive was to kill off the 3 millionaires on board. There are also many online chats and discussion boards with believers of this theory as well.
Now that we talked about the Titanic conspiracy theory, next we'll talk about the school shooting conspiracy theory.
There are many people that believe school shootings are staged. School shooting is defined as an attack on an educational institution with the use of firearms. Events with 4 or more deaths are defined as mass shootings. In 2019 alone in the U.S., there has been 66 mass shootings.
Vanessa Romo, a political researcher and writer for the NPR radio, stated in an article it's called All That's Interesting on April 13, 2019, that school shootings are staged as actors. Some people believe that the people that were deceased in the school shootings are actually still alive. Some believers even go up to the parents of the children and say they're hiding the children and going along with the shooting.
People believe the government stages these attacks to undermine the Second Amendment. Referring back to Vanessa Romo, Alex Jones claims the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting was staged. 26 were killed in the shooting, 20 of them being children. This shooting took place in a first-grade classroom in Newton, Connecticut. Several glitches can be seen if the program is watched on CNN. While parents were being interviewed, the tips of their noses started to disappear. Jones claims that they used green screens to convince viewers. These images were then used as fuel for this theory and was put all over YouTube. The explanation for these glitches is compensation video compression.
Jones's claims led to many death threats to the victims' families from his followers. His followers claim that the parents didn't hold their own child's lifeless body. Parents have been blindsided by the harassment they receive online. A 3-hour movie posted to YouTube was meant to question school shootings.
Parents of the deceased children released official documentation as proof that their children weren't actors. Parents released the child's death certificate, report cards, and school pictures as proof. Local community members were allowed to view the deceased children's bodies as proof that they were indeed deceased.
First, we explain how conspiracy theories came about. Second, we explain what they are. And finally, we explain 4 popular conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories are a common response to traumatic and historical events.
Now that we talked about 4 major conspiracy theories, we hope you have a better understanding of what they are. The internet is full of people who propagate and believe in them.